Hi, my name is Gudrun from Gia Designs. Welcome to our part one of the Phoenix Quilt Along. Good morning from Minnesota. Beautiful sunny day here in Minnesota. It's chilly outside, so I'm happy to be inside. Welcome everybody, whether you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook. Thanks for being here. We are in for a fun, exciting day. It's always exciting for us when we do these quilt along. Of course, Mr. HP's behind the system, making sure everything runs.
Everybody, good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon to some of you. Really early morning to others. So thank you all for being here. Of course, the videos will be available later for those of you in completely opposite time zones. We understand. So if you know nothing about the Phoenix Quilt Along, we will be working on a wonderful quilt today called Phoenix. You can get the pattern still at gequiltdesigns.com. Just go to PDF patterns, or better yet, head over to the blog and find the Phoenix blog post. It will tell you everything you need to do, links to all of the bonus stuff and fun stuff, like a Spotify playlist, some recipes, curated by Mr. HP. The playlist, I've been seeing the love so far. It's fun to see your comments, checking in. Everybody's excited to get going. Just a little note before we start, I wanted to tell you we have folks with us from 20 different countries, and we have all 50 states in the U.S. represented, including DC and Armed Forces, so that's awesome. And then, of course, Canada. We have a lot of folks with us in Canada from all of the territories and provinces in Canada. So thank you. We appreciate it. We're excited to have you here. I'm mostly excited to see all of the amazing Phoenix quilts that are going to be created. A special welcome to those of you that are making your first quilt today. I know there are lots because this is a perfect pattern to do so. I'm happy to be here with you and take you through the process. So if you haven't done so yet, you need to print out your pattern, of course, the Phoenix pattern, or have it somewhere on your mobile device. Have that ready to go. I always say keep that pattern open next to you even though you're in class. It's always great to adjust and figure out as we go. Now, another part of this sew along, because I decided to call it Phoenix, as we are now more than a year and a half into this pandemic with all of its challenges, I feel like we're getting the hang of it. We are rising from the ashes and figuring out our new normal. And still there's some resentment towards some things that happened in 2020. I'm sure some hard feelings, things that we missed out on. So what I suggest, these 5 segments, something that we're going to do here, is I picked 5 things in 2020 that I was really sad to miss out on. Something that was frustrating. And so each segment, we're going to celebrate that. So the first segment is going to be spring break, as we shut down right away in March, which I was a couple of weeks away from going on a quilting cruise to teach. So I missed out on spring break, of course. Then our second segment, we're going to be celebrating our summer get-togethers, summer barbecues. As we remember in 2020, we were many places limited to gatherings, number of people in gatherings, so we missed out on a lot of those. It's one of my favorite things, getting together, potlucks. Oh, it's the best.
Yes, all the food.
So we're going to celebrate that in our second segment. Our third segment, one of my favorite things, Halloween parties. So we're going to have a little Halloween here in the afternoon. And then our fourth is going to be our holiday party, my version. Of course, I like to have goofy and have a lot of fun, so we're going to have an ugly sweater party. Some holiday cheer, and then we're going to finish it off by celebrating the new year. We're going to say happy 2021 all over again, and by acknowledging these beautiful things that we missed out of and celebrating it, we're able to let them go, rise above, and embrace the new normal in our lives. It's brought a lot of positivity, a lot of changes that might not be so bad, and just we're going to move on with a positive attitude and let all of it go.
Rise up, everybody.
Rise up. Yes. So, with that being said, celebrating our spring break, what am I going to do? Well, first off, I put my shirt on that I actually wore on my last quilting cruise. So, time flies when you're having rum. When you're having rum. I went to Puerto Rico, so that's why I wore that. So, I have my flip-flops on that I've had for probably 10 years that I always come out when I'm getting ready to go on a trip. So I figured to set the mood too, got to put on our sunglasses. I always have a hat. I don't really wear hats, but vacations, got to cover that face up. So I couldn't find my hat. Well, let's see. He's ready to go swimming because he likes Mr. HP, everybody. Mr. HP, he likes to swim on vacation. Yes.
I didn't get to swim last time.
No vacation swimming this last year.
Got my trunks on and everything.
Yeah.
Got a nice little beach towel.
Yes, he's ready to go. And your goggles.
And my goggles.
We also, one of the most awesome things when you get to a resort or on the cruise ship in like a tropical climate, there's the beautiful scents that come with that. So we have a candle burning with some tropical scents, try to get us in the mood. Yeah, I was talking about my hat. So usually I have a sun hat somewhere. I couldn't find mine, which means that I have one of HP's fedoras on. It's a little big, but that just means I need to buy a new one. Yay, I get to buy a new hat. And also, just to really set the mood for this, I put on some sunscreen this morning just because it smells so good. Oh, that just puts me in the mood. Another thing that I love when you're at a resort, everybody's making food for you, cooking for you. And one of my favorite things, it's a really quirky thing, I love all the different fresh juices. So sometimes they have a juice bar, sometimes it's just juices. So I made myself some fresh orange juice this morning. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about that on vacation. There may be some bubbly things in here too, but this is just orange juice. We have to last the whole day. So this is just OJ for me. Cheers. Probably coffee for a lot of you. Not a coffee drinker, so get your morning started right however it is. I know it's afternoon in many places. But I think everybody's ready to go, right? Are we ready to go?
They're ready.
All right. I think we're going to kick it off with the first instruction. Now, I want to say we keep commenting throughout the segment, both on Facebook and YouTube, because we have giveaway. Every segment, we are choosing randomly from all your comments a winner. I have loads and loads of fabric to give away, so we'll be showing you that at the end of each segment. And then also, I would love to see some photos. So if you are on our Facebook group, Gudrun's Quilt Crew, make sure you post photos of your setup, photos if you're sewing with friends, some newbies. We love to see photos of your setup, and we will actually play them during our next segment. So post them in the crew. I wanted to start it off with, because a lot of you have been posting your fabric pulls. So let's start off with looking at some of your fabrics. And these will be Phoenix quilts sometime real soon. Maybe not by the end of the day, but sometime soon. So we'll start with, this one is Charlotte's fabric. So beautiful. It's going to be really high contrast with this, and large scale prints is perfect for this pattern. We have Dana's fabric. She's going to be using flannels. Then we have Diane's. She has gorgeous greens and that matte print that I actually used for one of my Phoenixes. We have Ilana's. Awesome flannels. 2 color groups. Great contrast there. We have Helen's fabrics. Neutrals, again, great contrast, beautiful neutrals, looks like some wovens there. And then we have Jane's, she's got some batiks ready to go. And we have Lee's fabrics, really awesome prints, looks like some jungle or animal theme. That's going to be beautiful in those colors. And then we have a really colorful one. Oh, this one is Lynn's. So Lynn has fewer fabrics, but beautiful, oh, really awesome colors in that. Nice paisley there. And then Susie's is super colorful with all of those prints. It looks like some Tula pink and a beautiful speckled background fabric. Beautiful, beautiful. I can't wait to see your quilt. So again, let's get it going. So you all should have your fabric cut, or if you didn't, what comes with your pattern, of course, is a cutting video where you can go and I will take you through all the cutting. So that is in your account. How to get to your pattern and that cutting video is by logging into your account on GE Quilt Designs after you purchase. Sign in, click on My Downloadable Files, find the Phoenix, click on Phoenix. You will have a couple of PDFs, which is one was your cutting instructions, but just click on the pattern. It will say GE Designs Phoenix 232, which is the number. But then scroll down and you'll find a video that you can play as many times as you want. So you can start off with that if you haven't started cutting, but I'm going to take you through this first segment. We are going to be going through steps 4 through 6 of the pattern. So we're going to be figuring out our units A. All right. So I'm going to get up here and we'll switch to the overhead view so you can see what I'm doing here. So for the first, now obviously steps 1 through 3 was part of the cutting, so you should already have that going. So now we're going to be working through the next steps. So unit 4, first off, we're going to be pulling our wider strips. So the pattern is written for 3 sizes, so there will be different number of pieces depending on the size. So that is all in your pattern, So you want to take your darks and your lights of your full strips. It says right there in the pattern how many you should have left after subcutting. So these are the length of the fat quarter, so about 21 inches if you were using fat quarters. If you were using full width fabric, they're still in full width here. But what I recommend doing is just cutting these on the fold if you are using fat quarter mixed with full width fabric, if you're using a background. So I just recommend cutting that on the fold, so I just cut that fold off because we're going to be making strip sets. All right, so we're going to make some strip sets. So we're going to take the dark piece and a light piece. Now that could be scrappy, of course, if you are using scrappy lights and scrappy darks. If you're using a single background, you'll have that background or a single light or a single dark. And we're going to just lay those guys right sides together. And we're going to sew with our skint quarter inch seam. And we're going to be making strip sets like this. And it does tell you how many you need to make. And normally when we're making strip sets, we sew the strip sets and then we press. But in this case, we're not going to press yet if you are using the Stripology rulers to do your subcutting. We're going to subcut these. So we're going to make these strip sets like this. So once you have them sewn, they're going to look like that. Sewn but not pressed yet. So we're going to leave them like this. And before we do any subcutting, we're going to move on to step 5, where we're going to grab the leftover strips from step 3, which is same width, so they are the 7.5 inch width. And then we're going to be making the same type of strip sets, they're just going to be shorter. So taking your lights and sewing them with these in the pattern. Of course, we'll tell you how many you should have and how many you should be making. So we're going to sew all these up, no pressing yet. So as they are sewn up, you have all of them sewn, you are ready to do some subcutting. I'm just turning on my iron here, something that I forgot to do to get it warmed up to show you. So I'm going to grab my Stripology ruler. I'm using the XL. You can use the original. You can use the squared. The XL works best because we're using that wider, full, the wide strip sets. But if you are going to be using the squared, you can just move it. You have to maybe move it more often. So once we have our sewn strip set, I have this one right here. This is really moving to step 6. We are going to subcut these as they are just sewn together, not pressed. So what I'm doing here, I'm using the lines on my cutting mat to kind of line up my strip sets. And you can do a few things. If you're just starting, you can just cut one at a time. I like to, of course, stack them all up. So if I have multiple strip sets, what I would do with, let me grab a long one here. Let's pretend it's sewn. I'm lining this edge of this fabric on this line. So then I will use the next line down to line my next strip set up. So I usually always try to have the selvages on the same side. So I would line it up like this and maybe stack 2 or 3 strip sets at a time. If you're brave, you can try that. Otherwise, just do one at a time. So I am going to, since I have these sewn already, I'm going to just use these to stack 2. Now these are going to be subcut into the same size units as the long ones anyway. So I can actually just stack them up alongside them. Or you can do those at the same time since they're all shorter. So it's easier to see. So I'm going to just, actually I'm going to show you just with one. Because there's one thing we need to, if you're using the Stripology XL or the Stripology rulers. Now normally when we're subcutting anything that is not sewn, we want to use a horizontal line along the raw edge of the fabric. But now since we have this sewn already, we want to use the stitch line. So the actual stitching line, not the edge of the fabric. So I'm going to find any horizontal line. I'm going to use this black line. And I'm going to line that up with the actual stitch line because that is acting as our fold. So just like when you were cutting your fat quarters, we had to line a horizontal line with our fold. This is now our fold, the stitch line. So I have my line lined up with the stitch line, and now I'm ready for my subcuts if I'm just doing one. So what I've also done, I have taken my ruler stickers, the G-Easy ruler stickers that of course come in packs of, we have 2 color packs that come in so handy. I have placed them on the marks that we will be subcutting. So this really eliminates any cutting mistakes, and it really helps because we're going to be cutting so many at the same width. So I just have them here and it's ready to go. So all I have to do is just cut where the arrows are. So I'm going to subcut these. And like I said, take your time, do one at a time if you want, stack a few if you want to, be brave. And now we have our units subcut. You want to go ahead and just subcut all of your strip sets like this. So same thing with, I'm going to show you how I do the shorter ones. It's the same concept, but now I'm going to just line 2 up. So here you can see what I'm talking about by taking this edge and just lining it up to the next line. You see that better here. And bringing the ruler over. And now we have 2 stitch lines to think about. If you lined them up on the lines, the strip says they should line up, but you want to check both. So I have one horizontal line on this seam line and then another one on this one. So it's looking good to me. Now also I want to try and get as much out of these as possible. So I see where my first arrow is, or first slit I'm going to be cutting through. So I slide this over to make sure that I'm still getting a subcut, cutting a sliver of that fabric, but trying to utilize as much of it as I can. And I'm also going to check if this one is going to be long enough. It's not quite going to make it here. So I am actually going to slide this over a little bit so that I can get at least 3 out of the one and then just 2 out of the other. We're gonna have some extra, so don't worry if you can't get 3 out of it. But I can make my subcuts. And that top fabric. This is all depending on how wide your fabric is. So I got 3 out of this one, but only 2 out of the bottom one because this one is not quite wide enough. So that's just going to be a scrap. All right, so now we have all of our pieces subcut, all of our units A. It's time to press. So I'm going to slide this over, move my pressing sheet in here, my wool mat. So now what you want to do is do the pressing. We want to press towards the dark. So I like to just stack up my pieces like this. And here's a little trick when you're pressing a lot of things the same width. You always want to set the seam. So go over the seam like this, then I open, I fold it out, and I go over it. And then I leave that piece here and bring another one on, do the same thing. So you can either, depending on how big your pieces are, you can push with your iron. I actually recommend pushing with your fingers unless the pieces are small. So by stacking things like this, what you're doing is that you are giving that bottom piece a really nice press, so they'll be nice and flat. And also that wool mat contains, holds on to the heat that the iron is giving, so it's also pressing it from the bottom at the same time. So I will do a few at a time, and then I'll just kind of do another stack.
Why do you cut before pressing?
Because the pieces are too wide to fit under the ruler.
Do you always use steam?
I always use steam. I like steam. I always start with, before I cut my fabrics, I give my fabrics a really good steam press. So that will really eliminate any kind of shrinking or the fabrics kind of changing on you, because the fibers will adjust. But this is what you want to do. This is press all your pieces. I'm just going to press all of them since I have them here.
What kind of iron is that?
This is the Velocity by Reliable. I love these irons. This is the one we carry in the store, although it is out of stock right now. But I guess we are going to be getting them in. We don't have a shipping notification yet, but they were supposed to be in early this month. So we're hoping to get our shipment soon. So once you have all of your pieces pressed, that concludes the part 1 of this quilt along. So go ahead and get these done if you do need to get some cutting done. But let's, do you have any more questions that we can maybe put on the screen and talk about and answer? Hope I can answer. Now, if you are using regular rulers to do your subcutting, you can of course press your strip set and then do your subcutting. The reason, like I was just explaining, the reason why we do the subcutting before is because the units are too wide to fit under the ruler. They are really, really long. So you wouldn't be able to do the subcuts. So it's very easy to do it this way. And it's sometimes, you know, others have you press and then fold it back and do the subcut. But then you have that weird little fold and it's harder to get the seam line straight to align on the ruler. So this is the easier way, in my opinion, to just not press, subcut, and then you just press them all afterwards. What's the difference between the original ruler and the XL ruler? The XL ruler is longer, the slits are longer, so the original is shorter. So, which is, you know, key with this to leave them unpressed. The XL also has the markings to do the squaring up. So the features of the squared ruler are included in the XL. There are more diagonal lines because it is longer, so you can cut diagonal 60-degree diamonds, triangles, and fun stuff like that. Pressing to one side with flannel too. Yes, you want to press to one side. That's what I did. I would say if you are normally a press open type of person, you do whatever you want to do. but your pattern will include pressing instructions, and they're there for a reason, because once we start putting everything together, all of our seams are going to nest nicely, and so it makes things go quicker and easier. Do you use a different stitch length to sew flannel? I normally don't, because my machine has no trouble pulling through the flannel. If you feel like your machine is struggling a little bit, and so the stitches are kind of shorter than they would be on regular cotton, what I would go up a stitch length. Just take it up a one stitch length, or if you have are able on your machine to release the pressure that the pressure foot puts down, kind of lift it up a little bit just to help move that flannel through. You can also do that. Otherwise, flannels are treated just like the cottons. I would probably, one thing that I would do with the subcutting of flannels, I would not do as many layers, because they're going to be thick, and then you're going to have that height. So probably only two strip sets at a time. I have a Rowenta iron. It leaks sometimes. Does the Velocity iron do that? No, it does not. I've had Velocity since 2000. I want to say 2010 or something. I've never had an iron this long. You do have to use distilled water in them, and if you do, it really lasts you a really long time. So no issues. I love that the steam is separate from the sole plate, so you can have a low heat on the sole plate and still a lot of steam. And there's 3 steam settings, so either off, medium, or full blast steam, which actually is so much steam that you can use it as a steamer. So it has an automatic feature. When you grab the handle, the steam starts steaming, as you can hear.
I love that iron.
Yes. I don't iron clothes. I just press fabrics, but he irons his clothes. And I had 2 Velocities, and one lives on his ironing board. I call it his ironing board.
I love it.
Because my ironing board is in my studio. What stitch length do you typically use? I use about a 2.5 on my machine, but you know, every setting is different. That's what I prefer with my piecing, because I don't really do tiny itty bitty things. If you do that, I would probably go down to 2. But these are bigger pieces, so 2.5 is perfect for most of my piecing. It's also easier to take out if you do have to rip out. Do we use all of the 8 pieces? No, we don't use them all. But if you're doing scrappy, it's always good to have extras. Believe me, trust me. It's great to have extras. So it's okay if you don't get 3 out of those shorter sets. That's what I'm saying. So you will have extras if you can. Where did the long pieces come from? That's all in your pattern. So those are the strips that you cut in the beginning. So just read through the pattern. I wanted to talk about this because when I travel and when I teach classes, I always kind of start with this little sentence that, you know, we all learn differently. We're all different kind of people. And so I always say I have 3 types of students in my classes. I have the ones that read the pattern, read every word of the pattern, and then they follow that. I usually say that's usually my, teachers and engineers. And then I will have those students, and oh, by the way, I love you all equally. Believe me. You have those that just look at the pictures, and then they go from there when they're reading a pattern.
That's me.
Yes. And then we have the third group, which, is great. They just wait for me to tell them what to do, which is, I'm here for you for this quilt along to tell you what to do. However, I always, in all my classes, I tell you, have your pattern next to you, and as you're doing each step, read through it. Read through every word, because it really trains your brain to read patterns and kind of connect the dots. So the actual words and the illustrations are there together, and they go together. So do both, okay? And this is also why I tell you both in the text, like which way to press, and then I have arrows too. So because some people read, some people don't. But I always encourage you to read. Read.
I look.
You kind of skim.
Yeah. When I need to read.
Yeah, and then if the instructions, you just find a YouTube video.
YouTube is the best.
Wait for somebody to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
But it's all beautiful. So with that, I'm going to leave it to sew, but we are going to have our winners for. So I have these stacks of charm packs. So we're going to be pulling 2 winners this segment.
You said stack.
Stacks.
No, they remind me of our breakfast this morning.
Breakfast.
Our stack and wax sandwich.
We had a stack and wax sandwich
Yes.
this morning. And
a lot of people don't know what that is. Sorry.
no, that's kind of an inside joke, but we talked about it in previous quilt-alongs. And it came from somebody asked a question in one of our shows about this fabric would be great for a stack and wax quilt. And he started laughing, thought it was a joke. And I said, no, a stack and wax is actually a thing. He's like, really? What is that? And so everybody was trying to explain to him what it was, and he just kept laughing. He said, that just sounds like a great sandwich to me. So I had to invent the stack and wax sandwich, which is just pretty much a breakfast sandwich.
It's the best.
So we had one. It's really good. It's really good.
Sorry. Back to the quilt-along.
Yes. Sorry. Okay. Winners. So each person will get 3 charm packs. So you're putting the stuff in the random generator, are you? We're going to put you on the screen.
Ready?
All right, I'm ready. Susie O and Kathy Reed. So you're 2 of you together, I'm assuming. So I'm going to throw in a 4th. So you each get 2. So I will probably be sending it to one address, and you can fight over them. So you guys send an email to help@GEQuiltDesigns.
It's 2 different people.
Oh, these are the 2 different people? I thought, oh, I'm sorry.
It's 2 different people.
Okay, I thought they were sewing together.
One from YouTube and one from
Oh, got
Facebook.
it. One from YouTube. So, okay, so you get 3 each. Susie O and Kathy Reed. Yay! So what you guys got to do, send an email to help@GEQuiltDesigns. Let us know your address so we can get these prices to you next week. And if you have any issues with anything going on with finding your pattern or anything, make sure you send an email to help@GEQuiltDesigns. Amy is standing by to answer your questions. So, customer service. All right. Is that it? Are you ready to go sew? Oh, I wanted to talk about about our spring break theme. I picked a quilt to match the theme. So this is my Sammy quilt. It's a really spring breaky kind of a quilt, isn't it? I love it. All kinds of there's cocktail fabrics, there's tropical plants, there's even like RVs and fish and all kinds of stuff. The fishes that you'll be swimming with. You don't really like that, swimming with the fishes.
No, they always seem to nip at me for some reason. They like my
I think you're just being paranoid, but
No.
all right, that is it for our segment 1. I will see you back here in about an hour and a half with part 2. And so happy sewing. Post your progress pictures on the crew, and I'll see you in a little bit. Bye, everybody.